through time as you take in the history of Norwich. Be swept off your feet by the Essex.
Peloton is more than a bike. It makes strength, boxing, or maybe yoga your new thing. It turns a run into a pretty epic workout. Just maybe not today. It's a calming word when you need it most.
Begin to relax.
And if you need a quick break, it's your perfect escape. It makes working out, watch this, workout for everyone. This is Peloton.
Come on, Jan, release your energy.
It's releasing my pee I'm worried about. And my ThinkPad showing.
Then we're always discreet, like me.
Well, let's deal with my leaks.
Hold on, watch this. Wow. Yep, it protects and feels dry. Plus, it's so thin.
Ooh, look at you. I'm letting it all go.
Always discreet, strong protection, incredible discretion.
When a murder's committed, it's always a race against time. To find the truth, to separate fact from fiction, to catch the killer, and to make sure that justice is served. But what happens when the truth vanishes with the victim? I'm Dr. Richard Shepherd, and I've spent my entire career as a forensic pathologist, performing nearly 23,000 autopsies. I've learned that the dead don't hide the truth, and they never lie. Through me, you'll be hearing directly from the victim. With the aid of a state-of-the-art laboratory using groundbreaking technology, I'll be investigating a series of intriguing crimes, where, from the victims' bodies, I'll reveal to you the truth behind these murders. On the 22nd of May 2010 in Costa Mesa, California, the body of a young woman was found in the apartment of war veteran Samuel Hare. The victim was 23-year-old Julie Kibuishi, and she'd been brutally murdered. Costa Mesa in Orange County, California. Concerned father Steve Hare was trying to reach his son, Sam.
Sam was supposed to come over that weekend, and he never came. So on Saturday, I went to Sam's place. I want to check, make sure everything is okay.
So he went to his son's apartment. Steve had a key. They were basically best friends. So he was very, very close to his son, Sam.
I walked into the apartment, and everything was neat. And then when I walked into Sam's bedroom, I turned on the light. Then I saw a body.
Steve immediately called police on 911.
There's a body in my son's apartment.
There's a what?
A body, a dead body.
A dead body?
The body was half on the bed, kind of half off, clothes kind of disheveled, pants off, underwear down.
Are you sure, sir?
I can see so, man, I'm sure.
Okay.
She's cold.
Her sweatshirt was on, but her pants were ripped off, and she was fully exposed on the bottom.
She may have been sexually assaulted. Her jeans had been cut off of her lower body. Her buttocks were exposed.
She's in the bedroom. She said there's just some sexual activity. She said there's blood from her head. I thought she was as if she was cold.
There was blood from her head?
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Okay, just stay in there, okay?
I feel Jesus.
A message was scrawled across the young woman's sweater.
Words, "all yours, fuck you," were written on the back of her sweatshirt. This looked like, on the surface, every other domestic violence murder.
And Steve's son, Sam Hare, was mysteriously missing from the scene.
Does your son know who it is?
He's not here. Jesus, honey.
Okay. Do you know where your son is?
No, I don't. I told you. Phone's off.
Okay.
Police raced to Sam's apartment.
Costa Mesa police arrived within minutes, and they walked in. Responding officers walked into the apartment, and to the left was Sam's bedroom. And at the time, all they could see was blood, and bent over Sam's bed, face down, was the body.
Police look at the scene. They find a driver's license that identifies women as Julie.
Julie Kibuishi was a friend of Sam Hare, and an initial search of Julie's phone pointed towards Sam as a suspect.
When police looked at her phone, they saw a series of text messages from the cell phone of Sam Hare, indicating that he was having problems with his family.
These texts make it sound like Sam is having this kind of crisis. Like, I need someone to talk to. I'm having these problems. You know, please come. You know, begging to come over to Sam's apartment.
There are messages in there saying, "I need a friend to talk to. Can you come over tonight?"
Julie Kibuishi and Sam Hare had met at college.
Sam was a veteran of Afghanistan. He was at a place called Camp Keating in the Nuristan province of Afghanistan and saw at one point 83 days of constant combat. I think there was 3 different medals of honor that were awarded. So Sam Hare came back truly a war hero in every respect.
A lot of activity, a lot of action. And when he got out, he signed up for college. He started his college. His plans were to get a 4-year degree. Once you have a 4-year degree, you can apply to become an officer.
His goal is to go to officer candidate school and go back into the Army as an officer. So he's going to OCC in order to get his degree so that he can rejoin the Army and be an officer and a better leader of men.
Julie had studied dance, and she was going to Orange Coast College at the time to study design, basically. She wanted to be kind of a clothing designer. Those who knew her described she was a very friendly, bubbly, outgoing person. He and Julie met because they were in the same class, and it was a class that Sam was kind of struggling in, and Julie kind of stepped in as a tutor, and they became friends.
There were certain clues left around the crime scene from which the detectives believed that Sam Hare had committed a sexual assault of Julie Kibuishi.
But Julie's autopsy raised questions about the scene presented to detectives. Julie's body was found on the bed, and because she was partially clothed, it was assumed that she'd been sexually assaulted. But intriguingly, the post-mortem didn't support that. What you sometimes see with a sexual assault are physical injuries like bruising to the arms or the wrist, or other signs of a struggle. Now, the absence of injuries like this doesn't rule anything out. But in Julie's case, there was no evidence of any injuries anywhere on her body to suggest she'd been the victim of a sexual assault. Internal swabs confirmed that there had been no sexual activity. Friends and family of Sam and Julie also believed this was unlikely.
From the beginning, Steve was adamant with the investigators that this could not have been him. This could not have been his son that did this. You know, he did not have that type of relationship with Julie. They were not, they were not in a sexual relationship. They were not in a dating relationship.
They were just, a platonic relationship. She looked at Sam like her big brother, a big teddy bear. That's how she described him to her parents. And Sam described Julie to me as like a kid sister.
So outwardly, there appeared no motive for Sam to carry out such an attack. And there were more clues from Julie's body that puzzled police. The post-mortem also revealed something else. On Julie's buttocks, investigators could see a process called blanching. This is where the skin goes white because the blood is literally squeezed from that part of the body by some kind of pressure.
When somebody dies, for example, on their back, it's very common that you will see like on their buttocks, where the buttocks would have the most pressure on them, they'll be blanching.
But the position Julie was found in didn't tie in with what her body told detectives.
Julie was bent over face down on the bed, but on her buttocks, which were up, there were blanching where you could see the imprint of her jeans. That didn't make sense.
This told police Julie's jeans were ripped off long after she was dead.
Blanching doesn't set in usually for at least 30 minutes, if not hours. So the scenario where Sam freaks out and murders Julie and cuts off her jeans as a part of some sexual assault was contradicted by that. That made no sense.
The evidence showed no sign of a sexual assault, so perhaps the scene had been staged to make it look like one. But detectives were faced with clues left behind that still implicated the brave war veteran.
There's also a bizarre sketch that had been left at the scene with what appeared to be an Asian woman naked, and there had been the imprint of a hand on that and the words, "I'm done." And it also, there appeared to be maybe hell or like flames of hell on it.
Police knew they had to investigate the most likely scenario.
They had some sort of quarrel, or perhaps over another man, and that he lost it, murdered her, and then fled.
Sam Hare's father was now left protesting his son's innocence.
So police were now looking for Sam. Everybody who knew Sam, not just me, everybody who knew Sam said Sam didn't do that. So you can see a big guy getting into a fight in a bar or something like that, but he would never wantingly ever hurt a woman. The police suspected it. The media blurted it out that Sam was this prime suspect in the murder, but we all knew it was wrong.
If your meal routine is tired, don't give up hope just yet. Make dishes more inspired with a little help from Fleurette. Pasta, make it a salad. Breaded fish, it's in the bag. Chicken and veg, you know it. Baked potato, that's more like it. Why settle for just edible when you deserve incredible? Unleash some leafy loveliness and make it unfleurettable.
Live your best phone life on the UK's fastest 5G network. 3.
Your cat is a master of balance, and so is Purina One by Fences. It balances the bad and good bacteria to help support their gut microbiome, because when they're healthy inside, it shows on the outside. Purina One, visible health for today and tomorrow. Try the 3-week challenge. Find it online and in store.
Boston.
Mum, whose cat is that?
Hey. Capiche?
Victorian Plumbing. Boss, your bathroom.
Join me, Clara Amfo, for ITV Studio Sessions, a new series showcasing music's brightest talents. Here at the O2, they'll perform their greatest hits, new songs and a favourite cover, and chat to me about their inspirations and life in the spotlight. ITV Studio Sessions, available now on ITVX.
In Costa Mesa, California, the body of 23-year-old Julie Kibuishi was found in the apartment of war veteran Samuel Hare. Having recently finished a tour of duty in Afghanistan, 26-year-old Army Private Samuel Hare was a trained killer. So for police, he was their #1 suspect.
This looked every bit like your traditional run-of-the-mill bread and butter domestic violence homicide. His passport was gone, his car wasn't there, so there was a big hunt on for Sam.
Julie's autopsy pointed towards the identity of the killer. Julie had an entry wound in the back of her head that could only have been caused by an object with a high enough velocity to penetrate through the thick bone of the skull. The wound suggested that this was caused by a bullet measuring around 9 mm in diameter, probably fired by a small handgun. With gunshot wounds to the head, we expect to see crushed and lacerated brain tissue along the trajectory of the bullet. But it's not just the bullet that causes damage. If you look carefully, you can see what happens when a bullet hits the skull. The sheer force and velocity cause dozens of tiny shards of bone to move out and cause massive damage to the soft brain tissue. For police, the lethal shot to the back of Julie's head put combat-trained Army veteran Sam Hare clearly in the frame.
From their perspective, you know, this guy's a suspect and he's on the run. He's a fugitive at this point, and they want to track him down. At the same time, they realize that there's things that don't seem right about this crime scene. There doesn't appear through the autopsy to be any signs of a sexual assault. There's no indication that Sam had a gun. And there's all these things that just aren't really adding up.
Sam's father, Steve, also had his doubts his son was the killer. He too was on the desperate hunt for Sam to find answers.
That night I got home and I've had a few of Sam's friends' numbers. And at 1, 2 o'clock, I'm calling these people up.
One friend had interesting news.
He said, I called Sam. And somebody answered the phone, but it wasn't Sam. I said, what's going on? Then he got hung up. So I knew somebody had Sam's phone. Then Monday is when I was able to get into Sam's account. There was movement on his ATM card. The first few times it was at the ATM machine in Long Beach.
This was barely 20 miles and just a 30-minute drive from Sam's apartment.
And then there was activity that pizza was purchased in Long Beach. And I Googled it, and they were all within close proximity. So Monday evening, I went to the pizza joint. Let me see if I see Sam's car. So I stayed there for about 2 hours. There was nothing there.
But Steve passed on this significant new lead to detectives.
He told the police, somebody keeps withdrawing money from my son's bank accounts. So the police then set up a group of different teams to monitor ATM machines where these withdrawals are being taken.
They had teams ready to go, you know, just waiting for this card to be used.
So the initial breakthrough was they got the image of somebody withdrawing money, which is great. Now we're going to find out where Sam is because, you know, Sam's going to be withdrawing his own money. And the problem was it wasn't Sam. It was a young man that nobody recognized.
They're continuing to keep an eye on these withdrawals. And they managed to see one that's a pizza order to a home in Long Beach.
Armed response units raced to the Long Beach address.
So they come in, helicopter overhead, get down, get down, get down. The police are walking in, I think they had MP5s, which are automatic machine guns that SWAT teams use here in Southern California. And it's a bunch of 16-year-old kids who, in fact, had Sam's ATM card, and they had a lot of explaining to do.
Police started interrogating the youngsters. In the meantime, Steve had been calling his son's friends. One in particular claimed he'd seen him, Sam's neighbor, an actor, Dan Wozniak.
I said, Dan, can you tell me about Sam? Yeah, because you said you saw him. He said, yeah. He said, Sam was really nervous that time. I said, do you have any idea why? He said, no. He did tell me he had girl problems and he had family problems. And let me clue you in on something. The one thing there is no problems with Sam is family problems. We are so close. So as soon as he told me that, in my head, I said, that bastard knows something. Okay? He's dirty.
He was interviewed by the police, and he said that he'd asked Sam to help him move some stuff that day, and he essentially provided information to the police that didn't appear to be of much use initially.
Meanwhile, police had turned up at Steve's home.
Sam's still their prime suspect at the time. They want to know if he had a gun, he wanted to do this, or if he had this or that. And I said, I've got information for you guys.
Steve told them about his conversation with Dan Wozniak.
And then when I told him, he's telling me Sam told him he had family problems. I absolutely knew he was lying. So when I told the cops that, I'll never forget, one of them said, we might be looking for the wrong guy.
At the murder scene, there was another clue leading to Dan.
Among the items that they find inside the apartment, there was a wedding invitation to a woman named Rachel Buffett and her marriage to Daniel Wozniak. They're neighbors inside the building. And they're a bunch of college students, so they would hang out, they would party, they would spend time in the jacuzzi and in the pools. And Sam and Wozniak had had at least one conversation in the jacuzzi. So they knew each other sort of socially within Camden Martinique apartment complex.
One of the boys found holding Sam's ATM card had an interesting story to tell.
He immediately cooperated. He said, yes, it was me. I was taking money out, and then there was the $20,000 question. And some of us were expecting him to tell us where Sam was. And instead, he said, I got the card from Daniel Wozniak.
Said that he had met Wozniak 6 years earlier. They'd both been acting in the same production. And then out of the blue, Wozniak had called him up and asked him to do this, asked him to use this card and go to these ATMs and withdraw this money.
So this is now the second or third time that Daniel Wozniak's name has come up in relation to this. Dan Wozniak had already been interviewed, and he didn't say anything about getting Sam's ATM card. At the very least, he withheld information from police during a murder investigation. That is a crime in and of itself. They reached out to him. I believe they called him on the phone, and he said, yeah, I can't meet with you. Sorry, I'm going on my bachelor party. Which, as you can imagine, is not something that when you've got potentially a crazed murderer on the loose and you have the murder of a beautiful, innocent 23-year-old woman, that's not something that the police are going to care about.
So the police, they track Wozniak down. They find him at his bachelor party, actually, at a sushi place in Huntington Beach, which is not far from Long Beach.
And they arrested him. And it was caused quite the kerfuffle among his party guests. And I think they might have even, if I recall, I think they handcuffed a couple of guys that were protesting his arrest, if I remember. But anyway, they transport Daniel Wozniak to the Costa Mesa Police Department for a very formal interview.
Initially, Wozniak tells detectives that he was involved in some sort of bank fraud with Sam. Then he changes his story.
What he essentially says in a nutshell is, okay, I lied to you before. I'm sorry I lied. What really happened was Sam came to my apartment and said he needed my help and that there was a body in his apartment and he needed my help to get money out of his bank account.
He tells him, well, you know, Sam had told me that he had killed Julie because she wouldn't have sex with him, and he was in this drug-fueled rage, is what he claimed.
And he threatened me, and so I agreed to help him get money out of his bank account. Okay, so there are about 20 things in that story that made absolutely no sense to detectives.
As detectives are kind of poking holes in these stories, he's not kind of holding up very well under this questioning. At one point, one of the detectives tells him, you're not that good an actor, man.
And when they start saying, well, hey, what about this? And they begin confronting him, Wozniak's story begins to change and says, okay, I'm sorry. I saw, quote unquote, the goddamn body. I saw the goddamn body. Is that what you want to hear? I saw the goddamn body. I didn't kill her. Sam killed her. But then I helped him afterwards.
But the discovery on Julie's body undermined Wozniak's testimony. In Julie's case, the post-mortem confirmed that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back of the head. But there's something else her body revealed. She'd been shot not once, but twice. The second wound was hidden by her hair. And so at first, that second gunshot wound was known only to the pathologist who performed the examination, and of course, to the person who pulled the trigger.
Wozniak said, I stood over her and I looked at her. All I saw was 2 bullet holes in her head. Julie was a young woman with a beautiful head of thick black hair. You couldn't see the bullet holes in her head. This is a .380 caliber handgun, so this is a very small bullet, and you couldn't see that. It was impossible to see. One of the detective sergeants, actually, who was monitoring this interview, interrupted the interview at that point and came in and said, wait a second, did you say you saw 2 gunshot wounds in her head? You couldn't see that. So they caught him in a gigantic...
We're leaving now!
Be good! We will! We've got Wi-Fi!
I'm Agnes, and this is the Box of Shame podcast.
Where's the ladle?
Oh, seriously? It's been 15 seconds!
Let them out their fun.
Enjoy a full house fully connected. Get Sky Broadband with speed and Wi-Fi guaranteed or money back.
Great outdoor living now available in the UK. Tyne Maximal introduces high-quality verandas starting from £987. Discover your ideal outdoor room and take a tour in our virtual showroom. Any questions? You can contact us 365 days a year. Visit tynemaximal.co.uk.
Hotels.com app to find your perfect somewhere.
No sign of him yet, Money Super 7? Had such high hopes for you tonight.
High hopes. That's him.
Go, go, go. Let's give him what he deserves.
Your rewards from Money Supermarket. You're gonna love them. Welcome to the Super Safe Club.
She's your next. Break a leg.
The Super Safe Club from Money Supermarket. It's seriously rewarding.
OGX presents. I've put you through a lot. Made a bold choice or two, and there was that fringe once too. But you make me proud. You make me stand tall. And with OGX, I'll nourish you, strengthen you, protect you through it all. Don't just wash it, OGX it.
May 2010, Costa Mesa, California. Police were investigating the discovery of a body in the apartment of war veteran Sam Hare. The body was that of 23-year-old Julie Kibuishi. Julie's body was found on the bed, and she'd been brutally murdered. 26-year-old Sam Hare was missing. Nobody knew if he was alive, dead, or on the run. But detectives had now arrested his neighbor, an actor, Dan Wozniak, for withholding information during a murder investigation.
Wozniak tells police that he saw 2 gunshot wounds in the back of Julie's head. Detectives realize, there's no way he could have seen that. So they're pushing him on this, and they can tell he's rattled and he's struggling to kind of come up with explanations.
The interview ends. He then goes back to his holding cell.
Meanwhile, Wozniak's bride-to-be, Rachel Buffett, had begun cancelling their wedding plans.
Rachel, his fiancée, went to Daniel's parents' home, and she informs his mom that Dan has been arrested and doesn't appear that he's going to be out in time for the wedding. And while she's there, she has contact with Tim, who's Wozniak's older brother, who begins to freak out and says, oh my God, I have evidence.
Unwittingly, Wozniak's brother, Tim, had been given a backpack. It contained Sam's clothes covered in blood, his mobile phone and his wallet. In a call Wozniak made from jail, his fiancée asked him about it.
Tim says he has evidence with him.
She says, hey, I'm about to tell the detectives that Tim has evidence.
Then I'm doomed.
Do you know that Tim had some evidence?
Yeah. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Don't. That can't be found.
He says, you can't do that, you can't do that. If you do, I'm done for. Baby, 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 no, don't do that, don't do that. And she says, well, I'm going to. I have to. And by the way, this is a recorded line, and you're being a complete ass if you're going to continue to lie. Wozniak then informs the jailer, I want to talk to the detectives.
You said you wanted to talk to me. What's going on?
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
I killed Julie and I killed Sam.
Okay. Tell me how you killed Sam.
2 shots using my father's gun that I had.
And your motive behind killing Sam was?
Money and insanity.
Money and insanity. Okay.
Wozniak then revealed how he led Sam to his death.
Wozniak says he goes to Sam. He asks him for help moving boxes at this theater on the Joint Forces training base, which it's this military base in Los Alamitos.
He says he lured Sam into the attic of a theater called the Liberty Theater under this guise of helping him move some stuff.
Wozniak had been in a production out there, so he knew it.
Tell me about the Sam incident and what you did.
I told him that I needed to move some stuff in the theater. I said, you need to bend down and help me lift this thing up. And when he bent down, I grabbed the gun. I never really fired the gun before, so I pulled it back and I shot him.
Wozniak rifles through Sam's pockets, grabs his cell phone, grabs his debit card, and takes off.
With this news, police raced to the Liberty Theatre. They finally found Sam Hare's body in the attic. It revealed he'd met a gruesome end. When the police first found the body, the head was gone, the right hand was missing, and the left forearm and hand were missing. Now, the first thing you want to do with a body like this is to work out who it belonged to. It was impossible to use either fingerprints or dental records. But this body could still reveal the truth. On the chest was a distinctive tattoo of a heart and a rose. And using that, the police were able to identify him as Sam Hare. For Sam's father, Steve, his worst fears had come true.
The police called and said they identified Sam's body from the tattoo. It was a heart and a rose, big one, and it had Mom and Dad. I knew it was my son.
Like a lot of young men who were in the Army during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, he also had just a series of tattoos that were reflective of his military deployment. So his tattoos were unique and very easy to identify. Plus, we knew that it was Sam Herr at that time because we already had Wozniak's confession.
It's a shock when you find out your child is dead. When they confirm it, the shock is complete. However, I remember saying, okay, they found Sam's body. And I remember thinking, well, at least he's not been dismembered. So the next morning, the police call and say, Steve, before you find out from the media, we have to tell you Sam was dismembered. That's when anger, everything, and to this day, 13 years later, it's there. It's there. That's where I go. That's the dark place. I don't want to go there. So I try to avoid it.
Police needed to work out how and why Sam's body was dismembered. Was it a moment of madness or part of Wozniak's plan? To remove the head and 2 limbs from a body, you have to cut through bones, and I can tell you that takes a lot of physical effort. A closer look at the edges of the bones that have been cut can be very revealing and can tell us what was used to cut them. An axe would leave a V-shaped trough, whilst a saw leaves specific ridge patterns on the cut ends of the bone, matching the sawtooth pattern on the edge of the blade. And in this case, the telltale marks on Sam's bones revealed that the killer had used a saw to decapitate him. With this new lead, police uncovered the tools the killer had used for his grisly crime.
He used a combination of a hatchet and also a wood saw. Wozniak discovered that it was far more difficult to dismember a human body, I think, than he thought. We believe that was to make identification more difficult by removing the head and hands, which is not very well thought through because this is a former member of the United States military and there's DNA in a database for that. So eventually this body is going to be identified. The blood at the scene by itself would be probably run through the system and would have identified him. So I don't know exactly what he was thinking.
But time was running out to find Sam's missing body parts for the sake of his family and for police to build a watertight case.
He had cut off the head and hands and thrown them in this Long Beach nature park. We have coyotes, we have a lot of animals, and they use the storm drains to access suburban areas. So if a body is not discovered quickly and it is off a fire road or off a hiking trail, you can guarantee that it's going to be what's known as scavenged. That's when animals find the body and they will oftentimes eat anything of forensic value from that. So there was a grid search conducted of this Long Beach nature park.
On May 29th, which happened to be Sam's birthday, they found his head. That upset me, you know, yeah, he was dismembered, and here it was on his birthday. We should have been celebrating his 27th birthday. I'm praying that they find his head. The police scoured El Dorado Park. There was still a hand they never found. There's never forgiveness for Dan Wozniak in my mind.
Back at the police station, Wozniak revealed how just hours after killing Sam, he murdered Julie.
Julie was wearing like a crown tiara. She had just come from her brother's. I had said Sam had just called me and he was going through some stuff. She said, yeah, me too. I said, well, I have a key, let's go in. I opened the door, I let us in. And then I just went to the bathroom real quick because I was really nervous. Loaded the gun again. Went back out into the hallway and then said, oh, by the way, did you see this in Sam's bed? And I said, Reed, lean over, look at it right there. And when she was leaned over, I put 2 bullets in the back of her head.
Okay. When did you feel you had to kill Julie? What was the rationale behind that?
It's going crazy.
No, but seriously.
Seriously, to cover up Sam. And so
why? How would that cover up Sam?
To make it look like he was on the run and he did.
He was the one that did it.
Right.
was good. It reached a point to where I couldn't even lose doing this.
At this point, police have this confession. They have forensics that puts him at the scene, the backpack with the clothes in it, the murder weapon, and Wozniak is formally charged with the murder.
Daniel Wozniak was charged with 2 counts of murder for financial gain, which in the state of California carries a potential sentence of death.
Brought her water intake to new levels just by flavoring ordinary water from thin air. It's that healthy, untouched water with the satisfaction of taste through scent. The only thing standing in the way of that important meeting? This. Air Up. Excite the ordinary.
Hi, can I help you?
Maybe. I'd like to look at Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, Burberry, Ray-Ban, Purcell, Oakley, Costa, Michael Kors, and Ralph Lauren.
What colors?
Sunglass Hut. Find every shade of you.
Want more shows? More films? More time for just one more episode? Then say hello to ITVX Premium. Fit more of your favourites in with ad-free streaming.
You've got a great setup here.
Plus get hundreds more shows and films from Studio Canal Presents.
Very impressive. It's a song.
That's more time to stream more of what you love. Start your free 7-day trial today and go premium with ITVX.
Sweat and tears, vital parts of life. Sweat cools us down when things get heated. And tears free our feelings into the world. So for the twists and turns of life, don't just hydrate your body, hydrate your mind.
In May 2010 in Orange County, California, Daniel Wozniak was charged with 2 counts of murder after confessing to killing Julie Kibuishi and Sam Hare. Wozniak had shot and dismembered Sam Hare to steal his bank card and his money, then gunned down Sam's friend Julie, so it seemed he had fled on the run. But the law had caught up with the killer.
The case enters the court process, and there was a lengthy delay between the charges and the actual trial. There's motions, there's many hearings, it stretched out over months, more than 100 hearings. For Sam's family, for Julie's family, they're having to kind of wait through their pain, through their need for some kind of closure.
So you can see our frustration with the judicial system. We finally went to trial December of 2015. That was 5.5 years after the crime.
As Wozniak entered the dock, the families came face to face with the killer.
You could tell he kind of had that air as an actor. He kind of carry himself in a certain way in the courtroom for the most part.
Wozniak, at the very correct advice of his attorneys, remained pretty stone-faced throughout. I'm sure they advised him not to show much emotion, and he didn't. He showed almost no emotion the entire time.
Despite the evidence stacked against him, Wozniak pleaded not guilty to Sam and Julie's murders. Deputy District Attorney Matt Murphy led the case for the prosecution.
We played his confession. We laid out all the evidence so the jury understood what he did, how he did it, and why he did it.
prosecution was obviously coming in with a very strong case. I mean, they had a confession. They had a videotape confession. It's hard to have kind of stronger than that, unless you get someone on video actually committing the act.
Prosecutors painted a picture of an actor who was hard up.
Wozniak never really broke through to kind of move up the ladder above community theater to become kind of a professional.
His fellow actor and fiancée Rachel was also penniless.
He and Rachel, I don't think they were getting paid anything, and neither of them had actual employment.
Community theater is not something that's really going to pay the bills. They would act together, but they were also always struggling for money.
And the problem is they didn't pay their rent. I think they owed several $1,000s in rent, and they were in the process of being evicted.
And despite that, they were also trying to plan this wedding. They wanted to do a beachfront wedding and reception, obviously a honeymoon, and they're trying to figure out ways to pay for all this. And Wozniak learns that his neighbor, Sam, had earned, through his military service, more than $60,000 in combat pay. And he decides he's going to find a way to get that money, no matter what it takes to get it.
And that's where the plan, this horrific, diabolical plan, begins to come clear.
Evidence from Wozniak's internet browsing revealed plans to kill Sam Hare in the weeks leading up to his murder.
If you go through their search history, you can see what's going on exactly in his head. His mind was focused on the honeymoon and being able to pay their rent. And then 10 seconds later,
there are searches on Google, making sure a body is not found, how to hide a body, quick ways to kill people.
He's doing searches for, how to commit the murder. So he took this antique pistol, which is a .380, that I believe was actually manufactured in the 1930s. I think it was used in the Spanish Civil War, that his father had. God only knows the last time this thing was cleaned. God only knows if Daniel Wozniak has ever used it before.
The court heard how Wozniak lured Sam to the Liberty Theatre. But could Sam Hare's body reveal more evidence that Wozniak killed in cold blood, and not in a moment of panic? We know that Sam's body was dismembered after he was killed, but what was his actual cause of death? The answer to that lay in his skull. The wounds to his head show us that, like his friend Julie, he was shot twice. The fatal shot was here. The bullet entered through the left-hand side of the skull and continued its destructive course right across the brain. The bullet ended here on the other side of the head, having caused catastrophic injuries. There is no way he could have survived this second lethal gunshot. Not one, but 2 shots were delivered from Wozniak's gun. There was no coming back from that for Sam.
The way he does it is so ruthless. Wozniak shoots one round into Sam's head that doesn't penetrate his skull. He has an opportunity still, after shooting him once, to do the right thing. It was a survivable wound, but Wozniak shoots again and kills him. And right after murdering Sam Hare, Wozniak went and acted in the Hunger Artists Theater production of 9, because they had a performance that night. Goes out, sings, dances, does his whole routine, nails it, gives quite a performance. Then at the end of that performance, uses Sam's cell phone to lure Julie to Sam's apartment.
Dan is now texting as Sam. I need to see you. I have bad family crap. Dan, acting as Sam, was very explicit and to say, I need to see you alone by midnight. And Julie, being sweet and a friend, saying, don't worry, Sam, I'm there for you. We're family. Dan goes up and meets her, and then he lets Julie into Sam's apartment. And she went to Sam's room, and then he put 2 bullets in her head. And then he disrobed her and made it look like she was raped.
But the court heard how Julie's body exposed the truth, that there was no sexual attack. Prosecutors revealed how the blanching of Julie's skin with an imprint of her genes showed Wozniak had removed Julie's clothes after her murder to make Sam look like the killer.
He lured her in there to her doom, to her death. She was thinking she was helping a friend, she was going to be there for him. And then this guy just destroys everything good.
Wozniak's own brother, Tim, testified against him about the backpack he was given containing Sam's blooded clothes, wallet and phone, and even the murder weapon. It was an open and shut case.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Daniel Patrick Wozniak, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
The jury found Wozniak guilty of murder in less than 2 hours.
In the new year, Wozniak returned to court to hear his fate.
The elected district attorney decided to seek the death penalty in this case because it was so horrific.
Danny Wozniak treated him like trash. He treated Julie like trash. So the question that I ask you to answer in your verdicts, are they?
Sam's father Steve and mother Raquel were there to help the jury make up their minds.
I addressed Dan Wozniak. What I did was Raquel at my side and 8 of Sammy's combat buddies standing behind me. You, Dan, are a coward. I told Wozniak he was looking at real men behind me. I told his lawyer and the judge that Daniel Wozniak was a poster boy for the death penalty. My only regret that in this state won't let me kill this coward myself.
The thing I will never forget for the rest of my life was June Kibuishi, that's Julie's mom, who came in and she testified.
You took my beautiful, caring, loving daughter's precious life to cover up your highness and planned crime. Did I ever see you any remorse? No. Not even once.
That was a moment that I will never forget. The jury has listened to the family. They go back to deliberate, and they are back in a little less than 1 hour.
We, the jury, determined that the penalty to be imposed upon defendant Daniel Patrick Wozniak to be death.
It was the shortest death verdict in the history of Orange County.
Wozniak's bride-to-be, Rachel Buffett, was later sentenced to 32 months in jail for lying to police to protect the killer.
This was cold-blooded, it was calculated, and the amount of grief that this stupid plan exacted upon those families is morally wrong in every way.
There's kind of a very tragic irony that, you know, Sam had been in some of the most dangerous places on earth.
Served heroically and valiantly for his country in the war in Afghanistan without a scratch.
Only to come back and be killed in Orange County, which, you know, is, in most people's estimation, an incredibly safe place.
Hopefully these families can walk away from this with some semblance of peace and know that justice has been done.
So I don't want them to be forgotten. I don't want Sam helping a friend. He paid his life for that. And Julie helping a friend. He paid for it with her life. The villain of the story is Dan Wozniak. The man doesn't deserve to be alive.
Julie Kibuishi and Sam Hare were lured to their deaths by a man they trusted, Daniel Wozniak. Not only did he shoot them both in the head, he also dismembered Sam's body. But despite Wozniak's attempt to set Sam up as Julie's killer, their bodies didn't lie. The double gunshot to Julie's head was evidence enough to put Wozniak in the frame and help prosecutors get justice.
Something bothering you? Can't lie. It's this new job. What if I'm not good enough? Cup of PG? Yeah, go on. Doubt is a mile wide, but only an inch deep. You can do this in your sleep. You think? I don't think. I know. You're as solid as a rock. I am as solid as a rock. Come on. Hey, you. It's a beautiful day. Tea break's over. PG Tips. It's not just tea, it's progress.
You see?
I know you love their classic, but I'm all about Yazoo's new thick and creamy. Look at it. Ooh.
Yazoo, shake it up.
There's over a century of Chinese wisdom in every pot of Tiger Balm. Its unique blend of active herbal ingredients is used across the world to provide effective relief from pain when you need it most. Trust Tiger Balm to work where it hurts. For tension headaches, try Tiger Balm White.
No, sorry, I think it's...
Okay, over to that. Can you come
When everyone's home, EE Work Mode prioritizes your broadband for working from home. This is EE Broadband. With faster speeds in more places than